So I'm Hijaz, and
hi, I'm Ida. Okay.
So we are volunteers from Pertiwi Soup Kitchen. Pertiwi Soup Kitchen was found in 2010. It's a service where we distribute food to the homeless and urban poor of Kuala Lumpur. Now, the project itself was established in 2010 by Puan Munirah Hamid of Pertiwi. The organization Pertiwi, Persatuan Tindakan Wanita Islam, was founded way back in 1967. So the aim of that organization is to empower women and sort of, what do you say?
Kind of give shelter and in a way try to find all these single mothers and children help that they need, whether it's home, whether it's companionship or counseling or even jobs sometimes.
Alright, so it started off when Puan Munirah was a young girl herself. She used to help out her mother in giving out food to the homeless in KL back in her hometown of Kedah. So it started back in 2010. It was just something really small, just a few packs of food, just a few volunteers, and slowly it started to grow into something bigger and more large scale. We have a truck for the food, we have a Hilux for the things that we carry just to carry out our operations. We have a Myvi that is actually a mobile clinic where we have volunteer doctors giving out medical assistance to the homeless, and they are all donated by all these parties who are willing to help with the cause. Now, on a nightly basis, we go out 4 nights a week, Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, and Sundays. We serve up to between 500 to 700 packs of food. So that's the rough amount of people that we serve every night. Basic food, just rice, a bit of fruit, just something basic to get by. Hot water, syrup, just drinks. Also, like I said, the volunteer doctors who are there to provide basic medical care to our homeless. And we also do situations where we try to connect the homeless with jobs and whenever they need them. And even also free haircuts by our lovely Azmina, because they need to look good too.
Today, there are over 9,000 members at our Pertiwi Soup Kitchen Facebook. It's basically the space for us to update and share our nightly run, so people will write reports right after every single session that we go out with. And there are more people requesting to join us. An overwhelming number, surely 9,000 over people joining us. And yet, how many of them have actually come down to join us with our operations? We can tell you right now, not many. When news about Punan's statement about the homeless reach the public, people are very outraged about it, right? So suddenly we had an influx of volunteers coming in to play their part. There are also reporters trying to cover the stories. So when the hype died down though, we found that our nights became quiet. There were not enough people willing to commit. We found that we did not have enough volunteers to run our operations. Every single time stories about the people on the streets reaches the public, you can always expect to get 2 types of reaction. The positive ones, sympathetic, or how benevolent we are to go out and spend our time with these people. And second one, the negative ones, how dirty they've made our city, how we pamper them. Still, how many of these people have actually come down to see with their own eyes what these people is basically struggling with? How many of them have actually come down to listen with their own ears the stories that they have to say? How many of them have come down to observe, unbiased, make their own judgment about the entire situation? Lay it right now, not many.
Alright, so in terms of what we actually do on a nightly basis, since, I have been volunteering for about 5 years and you have about, 4 years? So We sort of know the ins and outs of the operation, of the procedures going through every night. We manage and sort of organize new volunteers who come in. Basically, that's just a fancy way to say we boss people around. But we do have an overwhelming support from groups, let's say huge companies doing their CSR. They come, maybe 50 of them at once, and managing those people every night, trying to brief them on what we do, just to run the operations, that can be just tiring for us as well. But on top of that, it's also important that we educate them, in the sense that we have to sort of change our perception on the homeless, and that, okay, we have this sort of stigma where, okay, they're from a life of crime, they do drugs, maybe violent people. These people are just like you and me. Basically, it can happen to anyone. It's just a matter of them falling upon bad luck. Maybe elderly, they've been abandoned by their families. The children don't want to take care of them. Maybe some of them do have a history of maybe drug abuse. They're trying to make the better of their situation. They're trying to turn their lives around. So, in a way, homeless people, they're just like you and me. They have jobs, really. They barely afford to rent a room with all the prices in KL. And it's just that they're trying to get by day to day, but still people have this negative sort of view towards them, in the sense that it's kind of hard to approach them, but it's our job in a way to make sure that the public knows that they are just like us. I mean, sometimes we had fall through hard times, maybe not as bad as them. I personally have volunteered with like only 20 ringgit in my pocket to last me until the end of the week. At least I have a home to go back to, a bed, a roof over my head. So putting that into perspective is also a big part of what we do in terms of educating the general public.
For me, in the 4 years that I've been with PSK, I've met all kinds of people. Volunteers who came once, twice, and then disappeared completely. Recipients, this is what we call them, recipients, because we don't just feed the homeless, as he just said, we also feed those who are hardcore poor around the city. So recipients that have been with us for many months, many years, and then suddenly they're gone. One lady calls me Ade. She carries with her a little girl that looks suspiciously like a little boy, but none of us dare to ask. She told me that she was going back to her kampung for Hari Raya and that she'll see me the week after. That was 2 years ago. I have not seen her since. I have no way to contact her. One uncle has a tattoo on his temple, a chain of stars. He's super tall. Every time he walks past me, I will tell him to be careful not to hit his head on the truck's panel. He never said a word, he never smiled. He'll give a small nod to acknowledge the fact that he hurt me. Another guy has no left hand. He refuses help from the runners. Runners are this group of people that we assign to help the recipients should they can't carry their own food, so the runners will help them out. So this guy, he refuses help from the runners. Instead, he'll take the cup of coffee, he'll place it on his arm where his left hand should be, grab the food with his right hand, and walk past without ever saying a word to me. We have to be strict when we're doing our operation. 1 person per pack only. It's because we don't have enough to go around. 550 to 700 people per night. So if someone were to take a second pack, someone else will go hungry. So we have to tell them only 1 pack per person. So when 1 pack per person, these recipients, they're super hungry, they will try their luck to get a second pack. One of the main reasons they do this is because they don't think anyone would notice them. But we do. Every time they walk past us, we notice them how we would our friends. Little attributes, that makes them them. A small scar on their left cheek, that same worn out blue t-shirt that they wear, a plastic bag folded a certain way to hold the food in. New volunteers often ask us, how can you recognize people that have taken the food and those who hasn't? You don't go out 4 nights, 2 nights a week, for 4 years and not know who you're meeting up with. And I think mostly we all understand, because I bet all of us here understand how painful and embarrassing it is for people to not acknowledge your existence even though you're always there. Our recipients are so used to being ignored that they've used it for their own advantage. But I don't think any of them like doing it. To purposely make themselves invisible just for the sake of one more pack of rice. Often, we try to disappear among seas of people. Often, we try to shrink ourselves to go unnoticed so that people will not notice us. We forget how privileged we are to be able to speak. We forget how privileged we are to be able to shout our existence out. These people, they don't have that privilege.
So basically, people often ask us, okay, what's the end goal of Pertiwi Soup Kitchen? I mean, you go out every night, you give them food. It's sort of important that we build a connection with the people. Like she said, we get to know them better. Only then can we actually assess their situation better, because every single person is different. Everybody comes from a different background. Everybody has a story. And it's important to know who they are before we can find out the root of their problem. Maybe they need a job, maybe they just need a home, maybe they just need somebody to even talk to just like let their stories out. And it's, in a way, humbling when we actually meet them, when we know the hardship that they actually go through. And we do this, of course it's for them. I mean, just going out, sometimes, okay, what is just a pack of food to them? Is sometimes it could be their only meal of the day. And to us, personally, I mean, the experience that we go through, not only do we get to help them, but it just teaches us to sort of appreciate the things that we have more. I mean, the things that we take for granted, the people that we sort of just walk by on a daily basis, sometimes we don't even know that they are just like us.
Someone once said that if you keep giving food to the homeless, we are encouraging people to stay on the streets more. Exposed to imminent dangers at all times, day and night, both man-made and natural, not knowing when your next shower will be, relying on strangers for a simple pack of meal, eating by the drain, squatting by the drain just to eat your meal, sleeping on cardboard boxes next to cockroaches and rats, exposed to all kinds of diseases. I don't think anyone is willing to go through that just for a single pack of rice. These people, they're not city lices. They are not stains to be cleaned out. They are human beings like us, as he just said. They're human beings, they're like us. They're moving, breathing beings with feelings. They are people who basically have nowhere else to go. They are fathers abandoned by their own children. They are children abandoned. They are children born to girls too young to be mothers. They are men betrayed by their own wives. Their wives abused by their own husbands. And they are out there because they have literally nowhere else to go. Not because we give them food. When we pass the pack of food to them, we make sure we give it with a smile. This is one of the main priority, or one of the rules that we tell our new volunteers. We show them that we don't mind if their fingers graze us. We tell them, we ask them if they're all right, if they needed help. When we are ready to serve, we call out service. They are our customers. And we do this because, as I said, we believe in charity. And we believe that human beings crave a little care and a little companionship just as much as they need water, food, and air.
So we could talk about this all the time. I mean, this is something that always comes up. A lot of people talk about this, but the best way to actually see the situation for yourselves, I mean, just to go out there and volunteer, meet these people up close, then you maybe can get a grasp of how their situation is. The reality is often different from what we hear. So, as you can see, these are just people trying to get by. I mean, we're just trying to help them. Of course, just food and medical assistance, it's nothing, just something to get by day to day. But in terms of the relationship that we build with them, the support that we give them to help get themselves out of this situation that they're in, just because they've fallen into a bit of bad luck. I mean, that is just something that it's not mechanical, it's something that we sort of have to build organically.
When we share our stories about these things, as he just said, we can go on and on about it, but we try very hard to not romanticize it. But it's harder for me because I kind of minah bunga, so every single thing that I say are very flowery, so I try not to romanticize it. But there's nothing romantic about poverty, there's nothing romantic about not being able to go anywhere. This belonging, in any sense whatsoever, is not romantic, right? There are people much stronger than us because they will have to cope with all these things that we are probably too weak to be able to cope with. The reality of it is that they smell. Right? The reality of it is that, managing over 700 people with 50 volunteers within 1 hour at one location with all the foods and the treats and the operations is very taxing. It takes a lot of passion, it takes a lot of energy, it takes a lot of energy, and we have to be alert all the time. And the reality of it is that even when it's thunderstorm outside, it's raining heavily, we still have to go out. We make sure our volunteers and our recipients are nicely under the roof while we volunteers drenched, soaked right through our underwears. Not very pretty ones when we go out to soup. When it's hot outside, hot and humid, we sweat super bad, like more than a pig, I think, super bad. Even when it's haze outside, I can't sweat. When it's haze outside, I can't go out because I'm very bad with asthma, but they all will still go out, even with the haze as well. And I think inherently we're not noble beings. What we're doing, we don't think that we're doing anything special. More importantly, I don't think any of us and our friends at the back, we don't think that whatever we're doing is something that we do with the right intention. But we still try to do it, right? And I think one of the main reasons that we do this is because we understand that as much as other people need that kind of companionship and friend, more importantly, no one likes to be forgotten. And if we can offer that kind of friendship, even if it's just on a passing, more than any medical help, more than any food or a single pack of food is able to, if it's just to be able to be remembered, just as, adik yang pakai glasses, the girl who wears the glasses with a big voice and curly hair, who shouts at them, I think that's enough for me. At least I can safely say that I've remembered them too. I think, for me that's why we believe in charity. And it's not really charity, it's more on companionship, I think. So, I think that's it for today. Thank you very much.
Thank you.